and that is Falling by Synead Toomey. Sinead joins us here now via Zoom. Can you hear me, Sinead?
I can, of course. Hi, Dylan. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today. I know this isn't the first time you've been on the station.
No, yeah, I've been on a couple of times before now throughout the years, and it's always great being on.
Yeah, so that's brilliant. So I suppose just to kind of get us started, can you give us a bit of an introduction to your music itself, and as well as that, kind of explain how you got started?
Yeah, so I always find it hard to describe my music. It's very much like singer songwriter. I kind of base a lot of my music on life experiences, and as I'm sure a lot of artists do. But yeah, I'd kind of be majorly influenced by the likes of Glenn Hansard and Damien Rice and Lisa Hannigan. So I kind of um get my sound, I guess, from artists like that. And I kind of always my family's quite musical. There was always people sitting around the table with a guitar singing at like different family events and stuff. So I've kind of been singing from quite a young age, and then when I got into secondary school, I kind of started experimenting with writing songs, and I entered a couple of talent shows just in secondary school. There, I went to get a Closh Limni, and I remember being absolutely terrified going up my first time on stage playing in front of people, like shaking like a leaf. I could barely sing. So I kind of wanted to try and get over that stage fright. So then I decided busking would be a good kind of platform to try to do that, because people aren't really staring at you. It's in passing that they're listening to your music. So I kind of started busking then and built up my confidence and started writing more and playing more. And then that kind of gradually got on to doing gigs around Limerick, and up until releasing an EP last month, which is mental. I said I'd do it for years. I think I've been talking about releasing an EP, I'd say, since I left secondary school back in sixth year. So that's almost 5 years ago now. But I finally did it, finally got it out.
So when you first started, I suppose, kind of getting serious, let's say, and started busking around Limerick, do you think it was like a very competitive scene? Because we know like Limerick has a very good music industry. Did you think it was like competitive at all, or are artists all kind of friendly to each other, or what was your kind of view on the whole scene?
From my experience, it's always been so friendly. I remember always seeing buskers around Limerick. When I was younger and before I started busking, I went up to one of the guys that busks, Jared. And I remember chatting to him and being like, how do you go about busking? Like, what do you do? Where's a good spot? What should I have? And like, I remember him being just so enthusiastic and really wanting to help me get started busking. And it's been like that through busking or doing gigs or just collaborating with other artists. I think everyone's just so friendly, and everyone kind of wants each other to succeed. From my experience, I know there's no kind of nastiness or um, jealousy or anything. Everyone's just so nice about everything.
And you mentioned a few artists there that are of influence to you, like Damien Rice and that kind of thing. Like, if you were to describe your music, if you were to fit it into kind of a single genre, let's say, what would that be?
Um, Probably folk, maybe like indie folk. I'd say. Yeah, singer songwriter indie. I don't know. I kind of write between genres. I think if you put your music into too narrow a
Yeah.
box, you're kind of restricted of what you can write. But yeah, we'll say folk if I
Okay.
had to put a label on it.
So you would have really tried to advance your career while you were in college. You studied voice and dance in UL, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I did a 4 year BA there for voice and dance.
So can you give us any kind of highlights throughout the years of kind of gigs you performed at, or kind of stories that you might have that might be of interest?
Yeah, I've been really lucky. I got to play Electric Picnic. I think my first year in college. I played in on Public Gaelga. So I'm bilingual. I went to an all Irish secondary school, so
Okay.
I did a set in Irish there, and that was just incredible. And I've played with some amazing people. I've got to support the likes of Ryan Sheridan, and I played a gig with Gavin James. I got to busk with him up in Dublin. I won a competition, so that was pretty surreal. He's an absolute gent, and being able to sing with him was incredible. And as well as like being able to Emma Langford here in Limerick, she's been so helpful and so encouraging throughout my entire career. Like, she kind of had me support her for a couple of gigs, and she's just always been really, really supportive for me as well. Um, so yeah, those are kind of, I guess, highlights
So
from the last 4 years.
So going from performing live and busking and that kind of thing to going into the studio and recording the EP, what was that experience like? Was it a new experience to record in studio? Was it difficult to adjust to? What's your whole opinion on the process?
Well, the EP that I recorded there was actually kind of different. It was a project for college that we had to do. So
Okay.
in the Irish World Academy, we have two amazing studios in there, and we were kind of taught how to use them. And I had a friend come in with me and just help me kind of map everything out, and she helped me do the recording. And it was so like I had been in a studio before, and when I was younger, and I think I just didn't have very much experience, so I
Yeah.
found it so daunting, and you had to just get I felt like I had to get it right in the first take, and it was very stressful. So going into this kind of environment where I could just take my time and it just be with me and my friend and just have a bit of crack with it as well. It was such a different experience, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I think I was a lot happier with the outcome of these recordings than I would have been. And that was completely on me. Like the recording studio I went into before was absolutely incredible, and the tracks did sound great. But I think I just needed to, um, I don't know, I guess I kind of micromanaged everything,
Yeah.
and being able to do everything exactly the way I wanted to do it. It was great.
So I have to be honest, I never heard of that before. The whole thing of having the studio in the academy. Would you have had much help with like the technical side of things, or was it very kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of each to their own kind of thing.
Yeah, we had like a lot of help. Like the everyone in the Irish World Academy are amazing. Danny McBride would have he's the kind of tech guy one of the
Okay.
tech guys over there, and he went through. He I remember him sitting down in the studio with a couple of us and going through exactly how to use everything on the computers, from the Logic Pro to all the equipment, and how to hook everything up and get out the kind of recordings that you want. So it was great, and it was really, really nice learning process as well, and to be able to have those skills now, I think are invaluable, especially in this day and age when a lot of people are doing kind of home recordings and stuff. It's a lot more common now.
So about the EP itself, about the tracks themselves, over what period of time were the songs written, or were the songs that you had performed before?
Yeah, the songs on that EP, I've had written for a while. I think I wrote Falling when I was in transition year in secondary school, and the rest of them kind of followed in and around that kind of time frame. I think between transition year and sixth year. And I think they're just kind of songs that I've written. I'm sure other artists can relate. You write hundreds of songs, and there's only like a select
Yeah.
few that you're happy with and happy to perform. So I kind of knew those were my favorites that I had written. So I kind of knew I wanted to get them out there. But I have a lot more now that I'm itching to get recorded and hopefully release some more material.
And when you were busking, was it all original tracks, or did you do any kind of covers or any kind of other songs as well?
For busking, I actually usually do just covers.
Okay.
I have one or two of my own songs because I busk without an amp. I kind of started just with my voice and a guitar, and I've kind of honed my projection and kind of all that kind of stuff over the years. So I find my own stuff is best performed like with a mic and with amplification, just because it is quite soft. Whereas
Yeah.
busking, I feel like you need to be a bit more out there so people will listen to you a bit more. But yeah, so mostly covers when I'm busking, but I do try and put my own spin on things when I can.
So in terms of releasing the EP, in terms of promoting it and that kind of thing, how well did you adjust to kind of the business side of things? Let's say promoting the tracks, releasing them to radio stations, that kind of thing. Do you think it was a difficult task to do, or was there not really much of a transition period?
Oh, that was definitely the thing I was most worried about.
Okay.
I was really lucky in the fact that friends of mine, they have a company called Root Strings, and I was really lucky that they kind of took me under their wing, and they help with like the business side of things. And Cara, Shauna, and Sarah are all they're amazing women, and they're so knowledgeable in music business that I had no clue what I was doing. So it's kind of great to have them there to walk me through each step of the process. And we'd kind of have meetings every week, and they'd be like, okay, this week we're going to email all the radio stations and send out the tracks, or this week we're going to target talking to people on Facebook and putting up social media posts and kind of
Yeah.
planning out things step by step. So that was amazing, because I think that's what put me off releasing an EP, because I had no clue into any of that. The music business world was kind of a very scary thing to me. So it was great to have that support there.
So in terms of both your own EP and I suppose the broader music industry as a whole, how has the pandemic affected releasing the EP? Because it released in August. How did the pandemic affect releasing the EP? And I suppose how did you adjust to the situation?
I think, like, obviously I would have loved to have had a gig somewhere
Yeah.
where I could just gather all my friends and just have a nice night and have a bit of crack with everything. But yeah, I think it was good and it was bad, because obviously I missed doing things like that and missed like going out and physically promoting things. And I haven't actually gotten any physical copies of the EP printed yet, just because of the way things are at the moment. I think they'd just be sitting there at the moment
Yeah.
if I had gotten them. But it was good in a sense as well. It kind of took that pressure off, in a way, to have
Okay.
those live gigs and prep for all that stuff as much as I really wanted to, and I probably will in the future when everything goes back to some normality. But it kind of let me focus on just doing kind of a digital release and doing all of my social media and really pushing that. So it was nice just to have that focus there as well.
I suppose on a broader scale, do you think this has been a challenging year for music and the arts industry as a whole?
No, definitely, no doubt. Like, there's so many people that I know, and so many of my friends that I know that are having a really tough time, because we've been out
Yeah.
of their livelihood, we've been out of work for like so long, and things are kind of. I know a few people who are doing socially distanced gigs
Okay.
the past while, and obviously that's gone again now. So it is really difficult. And hopefully next year things will get back to normal and we can start really. I think
Yeah.
there's a need to really support
Mm.
artists and people working within the music industry in general, when things get back to normal, just because there's nothing you can do if because music is such a social thing.
Mm.
With everything going on, it's hard to make that a possibility, which people have been, which it's been amazing to see all the creative ways and creative things people are doing with Zoom and Facebook and all these online
Yeah.
gigs. It's been incredible to see the community coming together as well.
So, looking forward, and of course, as I said, hopefully we're back to some kind of normality sooner rather than later. But
Yeah.
looking forward, what's your plans for your own music? And again, how will COVID have affected those plans, if that makes sense?
I'm hoping I had like going back in the summer. I remember chatting to the girls in Root Strings, being like, I might, because I have so much new material. I'm going to try and get back, because I'm doing a master's at the moment in the
Okay.
Irish World Academy. I'm going to go back into the academy and I'm going to record all this new material and maybe have another EP or even an album for January. But obviously, with things still going the way they are, that's kind of been pushed back. But
Yeah.
hopefully next year, that's kind of my plan, is to get more things recorded, and get maybe a couple of more musicians in on creating a couple of new songs and stuff, and having a more collaborative, because I think I love just singing with myself and the guitar, but I think it would be really nice as well to have some other instruments and other artists come in on the tracks as well. So hopefully that's kind of my
Yeah.
plan for the year, is to maybe get some more music out anyways.
So, watch this space, I suppose. Hopefully,
Yeah.
good things ahead. Um, we're just about out of time, I'm afraid. But just before we go, if people are looking online, where should they search for your music and your social media and that kind of thing?
Well, you can find me on all of the social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, with Synead Toomey, Synead. And then you can find my EP on iTunes, the Google Play Store, and it's on Spotify as well.
Okay, so that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much. This has been Sinead Toomey. Again, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on, and I'd like to wish you the very best.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been great.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.